Dobar dan, kolegice.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you all for attending. Ahead of the Parliamentary Summit of the Crimea Platform in Zagreb, the Prime Minister of Croatia, Andrej Plenkovic, welcomes the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi. We will first hear their statements, and then you will have time for questions. Thank you very much. I am honored to welcome the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Ms. Nancy Pelosi, to Zagreb and to the government of the Republic of Croatia. I would like to welcome her again to Croatia and tell her how happy I am that she joined this initiative and she came to the summit that Croatia is hosting with great pleasure and with unwavering support to Ukraine. Our discussions today were focused around two topics. First was the further cooperation between Croatia and the US in providing support to Ukraine in the political aspect and different political initiatives, but also we talked about specific aid, humanitarian aid, economic assistance, financial aid, and support to all Ukrainians that, for example, came to Croatia for refuge. Croatia has been providing assistance to Ukraine in the previous months because Ukraine is the victim of Russia's aggression to their country. Both Croatia and the United States are convinced that we are on the right side of the law and on the right side of ethics, and we will continue providing support and friendship to Ukraine. The second topic was the relationship between the United States and Croatia. We both expressed our positive outlook and our positive attitude towards the relationship between two countries. Croatia has entered the visa waiver program a year ago, and we believe that this was a very good decision that will improve and make easier communication between our two countries. Croatia is also one of the first countries to integrate the Global Entry Program. This is a program introduced by the United States, and Croatia one of the first countries to enter. We are also negotiating on the double taxation agreement, and we want to improve cooperation in all aspects of the economy, especially the energy sector. We also discussed cooperation in defense, which has been the most developed form of our mutual cooperation. Croatia also appreciates the support of the US when it comes to their understanding of the Croat situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and this was obvious from the statements of the American diplomacy several weeks ago at the time of the elections in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We also appreciate the support of the United States of America to the basic foreign policy objectives of Croatia. We're talking here about integrating the Euro area and the Schengen area. These two accessions will make Croatia a stronger partner for the US in the international scene and also a stronger NATO partner for the US. We will continue cooperating and we'll continue our dialogue on all topics related to the wider region here in Europe. I'm really happy that President Pelosi joined us today, the Speaker Pelosi joined us today, and I am sure that her contribution tomorrow will be a very good one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, for your words of welcome, for the opportunity to hear your views as to what is happening in Ukraine, and to give us the opportunity to thank you for your tremendous leadership when it comes to Ukraine and, of course, Croatia. When we received the invitation, when I was in Berlin for the G7, and the Speaker of the Ukraine Parliament, I think they call him Mr. President there too, we call it Speaker, but extended the invitation to come to Croatia for this meeting, it was clear that he felt very comfortable inviting speakers of the world to come here, because the friendship that you have extended, the appreciation you have for the courage of the Ukrainian people in their fight for democracy, which is a fight not just for Ukraine, but for democracy throughout the world, and for the military assistance you have provided, the refugee assistance that you have provided, the moral assistance that Croatia has provided under your leadership, Mr. Prime Minister. It is, as the Prime Minister said, we talked about our mutual concern about Ukraine, what we can do working together as we go forward, and the importance of this meeting on Crimea Initiative Platform, First Summit in this regard, that is being held in Zagreb. It's an honor to be here. And again, a perfect place to have this. Secondly, we did talk about US-Croatia relationships. Our students study side by side, our soldiers trained shoulder to shoulder, our leaders work hand in hand. This is a very important relationship for us. The Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, others, the speaker earlier, but the Prime Minister in our meeting just now was talking about some things that we're pleased to have the visa waiver situation resolved, but we are also wanting to do the double taxation agreement very soon, and other areas where we could work together more closely to enhance both of our roles in making peace, democracy, and freedom spread in the region and in the world. So we thank Croatia for its leadership. It's a country small enough to be resilient, but big enough to be significant in terms of security and democracy and peace and values. And values what comes through in any conversation with the Prime Minister, because of the experience you have had in your own country in the past in terms of violence and the rest, and specifically mining and things like that, and trauma after violence, that you can be helpful to Ukraine and others subjected to Russian aggression. So I thank you for that. So it's about our relationship to each other writ large. It's our working together for Ukraine. And I'm very pleased in both of those regards to be, as a co-leader of our delegation on this trip, Congressman Jerry Connolly of Virginia. He was elected by the NATO Parliamentary Assembly to be their president, and in that capacity he was invited by the Ukraine to participate in this meeting, and he had some valuable perspectives from NATO to add to the conversation, and then here, but also as we go forward tomorrow. So for us, it's an honor that an American is the head of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, in light of some years before when there's some doubt about how people viewed our commitment to NATO. Thank you, Mr. Connolly, for your leadership. The security and stability. When we travel, when we leave our country, when any of our delegations go forward, and just recently we had the chair of the Armed Services Committee, Chairman Adam Smith here, again focusing on the importance of the US-Croatia relationship and security. Security is our number one issue. Economics, that's one of our primary issues as well, and governance. And in all three areas, we have a very positive relationship, and we learn a lot from each other. We certainly learn from Croatia. Just in final, the last point being about energy. Energy happens to be a leverage point in this war. The Russians have been the supplier of energy, and countries now have to diversify so that they're not being blackmailed by Russia as we go forward. A leader in showing the way in that regard has been Croatia. So thank you for your leadership in that regard, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you for the honor of visiting with you here. Thank you for the hospitality you're extending to all of us for peace in Ukraine. And thank you for your personal leadership in all of this. I yield back. Thank you.
Zahvaljujemo za ove uvodne riječi.
Thank you for these introductory remarks. We have time for a couple of questions.
Pelosi and Mr. Prime Minister, we have been witnessing the growing involvement of Iran in the conflict in Ukraine. Firstly, throughout the shipment of drones, and it's quite possible to see that there will be additional shipment of rocket systems as well. Do you see this as something that could lead towards further destabilization of the conflict, that eventually things could be going out of hand, that the conflict could become even more globally visible and unfortunately engaging? And just another sub-question to Speaker Pelosi, where can we expect your next unannounced flight and to where? Thank you.
Did you want to go first on your
No problem. Što se nas tiče,
As regards Croatia, our attitude is that whoever helps Russia in its aggression is making a bad move, and this is how we also judge the Iranian assistance and the provision of critical infrastructure to Ukraine. This will it's providing weapons to Russia that help Russia destroy critical infrastructure of Ukraine. This is something that will make Ukrainian winter much harder, and we are very much against this, and we think this is not in line with international law. That is why our attitude, the attitude of the Croatian government, has been unambiguous since the very beginning of this conflict. As regards the attitude of Croatia, I said it, and I said it once already, and I will say it again. Croatia is determined in its attitude, in its pro-Ukrainian attitude and stance in this war.
I agree with the Prime Minister on what he has said. I think Iran is making a big mistake. We've been trying for a while now to have a nuclear agreement with Iran so that we can make the world a safer place, and now they're going off aiding the Russians in making the world a less safe place. First of all, we have to be able to counter the drones, and that is something that we have to do, which I won't go into right here. You see some success on the part of the Ukrainians already in stopping some of them, but it's a dangerous technology, and it must be stopped. And that they would ally themselves with Russia in this regard should be a message to other countries who might want to refrain from voting in certain global bodies, or just in their relationship with Russia, to think again about it, because Iran has upped the ante. And if you're concerned about Iran, you should be concerned about Iran supplying Russia with this technology. Again, we just want to be able to counter because it's very deadly. It's very deadly. As far as my plans are concerned, I go where I'm invited. The president of Ukraine called me to make sure I accepted the invitation of Speaker Stepanchuk to come here. It is election time in our state, so this is of the highest priority that I would take time away from that very important election to come here, in gratitude to Croatia for hosting it and being so supportive of Ukraine in this battle for democracy, and also supportive of the courage of the people of Ukraine for the fight that they are making, and the leadership of the President of Ukraine and the Speaker of the House, Stepanchuk.
Yes, thank you. Bloomberg News. Madam Speaker, you just spoke about the midterm elections. Are you concerned in the case that GOP takes the Congress? What would be the result? What would be the effect for the U.S. aid for Ukraine? And speaking about that, are you concerned about manipulation at the ballot box, initiatives like One More Mission and similar?
Well, why don't we just stick with the subject at hand today, and your first question is to that point. I believe that the support for Ukraine and the people of Ukraine, their courage and the military support and refugee support and the rest that the U.S. Is supplying, again, learning from some of the experiences of our European friends, including and starting with Croatia, will not stop. It is the support for Ukraine is bipartisan. It is bicameral. That means in the House and in the Senate, and it starts in the White House with our president. His prioritizing this springs from the work that he has been doing with friends, allies, listening to them, having unity as we go forward on how we address this crisis. So I wouldn't be, someone made a statement of we're not giving a blank check to Ukraine. We've never given a blank check to Ukraine. The Ukrainians have dealt with any assistance we have given them, and I'm sure you have given them, with great integrity, with great compliance, with great accountability, and with great transparency. So the inference to be drawn from that is we wouldn't be giving them help. That's not true. And that has been a blank check. That's not true. This has been a relationship of great integrity for democracy and freedom throughout the world.
Imamo vremena za još jedno pitanje. Izvolite.
We have time for one other question.
Both Ms. Pelosi and Mr. Plenković. So the whole Europe is struggling with an energy crisis, and Croatia's partnership with the U.S. has proven to be an additional advantage. The U.S. has also previously supported the construction of the LNG terminal on the island of Krk. So my question is, what particular topics did you discuss in concerns of energy and the partnership of Croatia and the United States?
Well, we spent a great deal of time on that because, quite frankly, it is a source of great encouragement and joy to us to have this very strong relationship. I'm the first speaker of the House to visit Croatia, but this is not my first visit to Croatia. I came during time of war, and I saw what Croatian people were subjected to at the time, and see now how that experience is benefiting people of Ukraine and other champions for democracy throughout the world. So thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for your courageous leadership in that regard. The Kirk, that is complete now, right? That's complete. And that is, as I've said, this country is small enough to be resilient, but big enough to be significant. And I think that's one example of that. And to hear the plans that Croatia has for giving, in a very entrepreneurial way, giving others in the region the opportunity to be self-sufficient and not be subjects of blackmail of any country for their energy products, and including, of course, starting with Russia in that regard. So it was a great compliment to Croatia for what they are doing. Great joy to behold the completion of Kirk and what that means, and to hear further plans that Croatia has as we go forward. And of course, you're blessed with hydro, and again, an entrepreneurial spirit to develop other means of energy, in addition to the diversification, which is very important, not only for political reasons, not to be dependent on anyone, but to save the planet. So thank you for your leadership in that regard, Mr. Prime Minister.
Evo samo nekoliko riječi. Ja sam iskoristio prigodu.
I actually used well, I think, the presence of Ms. Pelosi here in Zagreb. I explained to her the very big assistance aid programs for the citizens of Croatia. I talked to her about what was the most important thing for me as the Prime Minister. For me, the most important aspect in this situation where energy is used as weapons, so what we wanted to do with this package of aid for citizens is to secure energy independence, to leave no citizen behind, and to secure a price cap for our citizens for energy. At the same time, we're trying to act against inflationary pressures and help vulnerable citizens who always need our help, and now more than ever. In this context, the government in my first mandate resolved a decade-long discussion of whether we needed or we did not need the LNG terminal on Krk. So this was resolved in our first term. We resolved this issue. We decided that we did need it. We used 100 million euros from European funds. We gave our own 100 million euros, and our energy companies provided another 30 million kuna. Now we decided to increase the capacities of our terminal from 2.9 cubic meters per year to 6.1 cubic meters through the European funds in the program Repower EU. Thanks to this, Croatia will be one of the key players in the region to secure gas, not just for our country, but also we will funnel it towards other countries in the regions. This has been one of the most important infrastructure projects in the previous years, and in this respect, we want to keep working on developing the energy cooperation with the United States.
I'm not sure I've completely answered one question. The Prime Minister was very clear in how we go forward in terms of our relationship. We talked about the visa waiver that has already been affected, how we need to have the double taxation agreement, and that will be soon. We talked about the situation in Bosnia in terms of the respect for Croatians there, and we talked about Schengen. So he gave us a full agenda to take back to the President of the United States, as well as to our Secretary of State and other relevant, and to the Congress of the United States. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
Zahvaljujemo. Hvala.
Doviđenja. Excellent. Thank you very much. That was really well. Absolutely. No, this was great.